Well, welcome 613 golfers to another episode of 613 Golfer podcast. I am your host, Jeff Potter, publisher of Flagstick Magazine. And it's been another couple of weeks. I know the podcasts have been kind of spaced out a little bit, but it's a busy time of year for us. And I want to make sure that when we record the podcasts, that we got some really solid content, focusing particularly on the regional golf scene throughout the 613. And to do that, we got to be out there covering things. So I'm kind of spacing them out a little bit, and depending on what kind of content we have, we may go back to doing them weekly as we go. But right now we're kind of doing them every second week, or close to that anyway. It's not that I don't want to talk to you guys. I really do want to talk to everybody and get more information out there, but sometimes you got to take a little bit of a break and breathe, because it is a very busy time of year for us at Flagstick and flagstick.com, particularly for one of my guests this week, which obviously my good buddy, best friend, Scott Mccloud, associate publisher of the magazine. And, I say I'm busy. This guy is a very busy guy, because it's not just the 613 stuff that Scott deals with. He does look after things with flagstick.com, and flagstick.com is a bigger animal than the digital version of the magazine, which replaced the print, obviously. And Scott is all over the map with stuff. So I do like to get caught up with Scott, though, and that's another reason why we do this a little more spaced out. I do like to get caught up with him because he's the one that really has his finger on the pulse of what's going on throughout the 613 region, particularly when it comes to tournaments and events. Obviously, Joe McLean, Scott's right-hand man, is boots to the ground, dealing with things throughout the region as well. But it all sort of funnels from Joe and Scott through the website and through the magazine when it happens. But Scott obviously has a lot of knowledge of what's going on and can relay a lot of stuff that Joe's covering too. So Scott's going to be with us. He'll be with us when we come back after our break. But and he's going to give us some fill in. Everything that's been going on throughout the 613 in the last couple of weeks since the last time we had Scott on, which was the last episode. Always love having Scott on, though. It's a good chat. Now, it's been a busy tournament week, but a lot of junior stuff. So I'm really looking forward to getting a feel for what Scott has to say about all the junior scene, because there's been a lot of junior golf tournaments and events and things like that. And our juniors throughout the 613 are doing very well at provincial events and big junior events. So I'm looking forward to talking to Scott about that. Now, one of the other things I want to talk about is, and I do want to talk to Scott a little bit about this when he comes on, is the Olympics. Now, I know it's not a 613 thing. However, Brooke Henderson is playing in the Olympics representing Canada along with Alana Sharp. And I think it's important that we at least touch on the Olympics, because, my personal feeling about the Olympics and the event itself is that I'm not a big fan of the format. I think that it should be more of an Olympic team thing, maybe kind of like the way they do it at the NCAA level with the colleges, where they have an individual competition, and then from the individual competition, they have a team total, and then from the team total, they have these sort of bracketed play downs, kind of like how they do a little bit with soccer, I suppose, too, where they play in a pool and they come out of the pool, and then it's an elimination series. But sort of a play down, and then it's head-to-head team match play for a team gold medal. So maybe you have an individual gold medal and you have a team gold medal. I just find that the best players aren't there. So when you're talking about an event like hockey or something like that, where it's best on best, they're always talking about sending the NHL players over because it's best on best. And you want best on best to see who really is the best country. When it comes to golf, I don't feel like it truly is a best on best competition, because when it's all individual, then it's an individual competition. And, the best golfers in the world are not all there. It's the best golfers per country for whatever number of players they were able to send based on the world rankings and something of the criteria. I tried to look up that criteria the other day and kind of get a handle on it. It's kind of confusing. Yeah, it really is. And maybe Scott can shed a little bit more light on it, but we will talk a little bit of Olympics on the 613 Golfer podcast, even though it's not a 613 thing. It's timely. The Olympics are going on. We're pumped and excited about watching our Canadian athletes over there competing and giving it everything they've got. So much drama around the Olympics this year with, being a year later and high level athletes having mental health issues and things like that. So much drama and so many things going on, and none of it can be taken lightly, people. None of it at all. So we're going to talk to Scott a little bit about that too. Now, for me, I'm not sure that I'm a big fan of the course they're playing either, but again, that's me. And that's just my personal opinion. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Scott's going to join us, and we're going to talk a little Olympics. We're going to talk a little regional golf, particularly juniors. And Scott actually had an occasion recently to take a trip up to the TO area and visit a certain manufacturer's training area and test some new equipment. And when we get him on here, one of the things we're going to talk about too is his trip, what he experienced, and all of what was going on there. So, thanks to our good friends at Ping Golf for sponsoring this episode of 613 Golfer podcast. Again, if you haven't had a chance to check out this new G425 line of clubs, do it. And if you can't get out and do it, I've said before, go to ca.ping.com and you check out the whole line there and see what maybe is of interest to you. And maybe you can head out to your local pro and test it out at their pro shop, or head to a retailer and give it a shot there. Find a demo day. There's lots of them out there, but thanks to Ping for their sponsorship. And so we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to have Scott McLeod with us, and we're going to talk about a lot of things. The Olympics, one of them. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
At Ping, we're an engineering company. Success is measured in the lab and on your scorecard. We focus on results, your results. In the G425 Max driver, that means more time in the fairway, less time in the rough. It means longer drives, shorter approach shots, and fewer putts. The new G425 drivers, taking MOI to the max. Get fit today.
Visit ca.ping.com to learn more about G425.
All right, 613 Golfers, we're back. And as promised, he's back too. After a 2-week break with the 613 Golfer podcast, I've also brought back my good friend, associate publisher of Flagstick Magazine, Scott McLeod. Scott, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Jeff. How about you?
Oh, I'm awesome. I'm excited to be back behind the mic. I hate it when I take these 2-week breaks, but I did explain to everybody that, it's a very, very busy time of year for us when we get into the peak part of the season. And it's not always easy to nail down a guest locally to bring on for an interview. And it's, with so many events and so many things going on, we're just kind of all over the map, and you're well aware of that because you are all over the map.
That is
literally.
That is definitely the case. Getting around kind of all over the place, trying to keep track of tournament schedules and events. And I know we'll get into that. Certainly. I mean, if people follow our Twitter handle, they'll see how many different events we're following, whether it's, locals playing down in provincial championships or down in the States, or, obviously we're working on other content as well. We're trying to track down people pretty much, like you said, around the world from a map wise. And it's good. It's good that this year is busy as it is, but it just certainly provides some challenges that we don't normally face all the time.
Exactly. But anyway, as it is, here we are. We're doing yet another edition of the podcast, so I'm excited to have you back on to talk about some things. But I jumped off the top of the show before I brought you on. And I said, look, I know it's not a 613 thing, but it's timely. The Olympics are happening. We can't ignore the fact that the Olympics are going on, and technically Brooks playing, so it is a 613 thing, sort of. And George S. Lyon, 1904, it's a 613 thing, so
from Richmond, Ontario.
So it kind of there's a tie in there, so we'll go with that as our tie into the 613 Golfer. But I said myself off the top that I'm not the biggest fan of Olympic golf, and my reasoning was two things. Number one, because I don't feel like when it's Olympic competition, Olympics are usually a best on best. And I don't feel like with the Olympics and golf, the way golf is sort of spread out around the world, a lot of the top players are from the US. A lot of the top players are from other countries where there's more of them, like Ireland. There's more than just 2 or 3 top golfers from Ireland or from England or from Great Britain or whatever.
Even Canada.
Yeah, exactly. And well, yeah, Canada's another perfect example. So there's 2 of our top golfers are over there, but there's at least 6 of them out there, 6 or 7 of them, PGA Tour level that could be there, and they're not. So I don't really feel like from a individual perspective that Olympic golf is as big a deal to me as the Olympics. And I suggested maybe they should look at more of an NCAA style of doing the Olympics, whereas you have an individual competition, but then you also have, from the individual competition, you qualify teams to participate in a team match play to really finish it off as a team competition. And it kind of brings in every country can have 4 members to their team, as opposed to, and then I know some countries don't have 4 golfers at that level, but so what's your opinion on it, Scott? Because I mean, I'm not the only one with that opinion here.
Yeah, no,
I can't be the only one with the opinion.
I think in some ways you're right. I mean, I think people have to think of it this way. Although the Olympics are meant to be the pinnacle of the sport and any sport that's out there, they're also representative of the top level of each country more than anything. And now obviously they have some qualifiers to get people there, a minimum standard, which they have in all sorts of other sports. You have to have a minimum standard to be able to make that Olympic level competition. I think as a result of it, though, what happens is that I don't think the Olympic gold medal really represents as much in golf as it would in, say majors or so forth, where you do have the depth of the field. And realistically, when we look at it, we're talking about 60 players competing in the Olympics, both for men and both for women. And realistically, there's probably only 30 of those players who are going to compete. And as you said, if you've got 4 Americans who, that would be the largest representative as far as a team on the men's side, because they have the most qualified players. Certainly, the 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th players probably on the American side are way better than the 30th to 60th players that are competing in this tournament. So not that it should take away from the Olympics, but just understand it's just not the pinnacle of golf itself. It's cool. I would love to see that team aspect as well. If that could be integrated, because the other side of it too is that, I think the Olympics, while there is a lot of individual endeavors, I mean, I think the biggest thing that you're there for is you're playing for your country. And I get it as well. I mean, the whole idea of the Olympiad is to bring people together from around the world and other countries. I mean, we can get into that as well, but we won't probably today as far as the value of the Olympics nowadays. It obviously has a certain amount of value, but on the other side, what's the cost that comes with that? So certainly wouldn't take away from the fact if somebody wins a gold medal, certainly have some pride and everything in that, but you're definitely not beating all the best players in the world to win a gold medal for sure.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. So on that note, we'll just good luck to the rest of the Canadian. Good luck to all the athletes, but good luck to our Canadians in particular. The men this week, the women next week, I believe.
Yes.
Hopefully they medal or at least put their best foot forward and have a shot at it. But this is the 613 Golfer podcast, and we do have to kind of get into 613 golf related stuff. So biggest reason, aside from the fact that I love talking to you, Scott, the biggest reason we got you here is it's been 2 weeks since the last time you were on, and we talked about a lot of events that had been happening prior to that. And it's been 2 weeks since then. Lots of stuff has gone on. And one of the things that I kind of jumped off the top of the show with was the fact that there's a lot of events that have taken place, and we can get into whatever you want to there. But particularly, I was saying there's been a lot of junior stuff happening, and a lot of our local 613 juniors are doing extremely well in events outside of the region. So why don't we just touch on whatever you want to touch on with respect to regional golf? I know there's more than we'll talk about, but whatever you think is a reasonable thing to start chatting about.
Yeah, I think the one place to start that we talked about a fair bit on the last show was the intersectionals, and we just had the junior intersectionals, and I take those into account because the fact is, they are sort of the starting ground for a lot of the great players who are going on to play at junior provincial championships and national championships, and those are the things that are starting to take place now. The Royal Ottawa team won this year at the junior intersectionals, which was a repeat win for them. But again, if you go and look at the Brooke Hendersons and players that have gone on to the national team from the region, whether it be an Austin James, Augusta James, Josh Whalen, your Currys and Fritches and all these people or whatever, Matt McQuillans. I mean, they all competed in intersectionals in OVJ or GAO Kingston. That was a sort of a ground for competition from a team aspect. So it's important that continues to happen because it's the kids get so used to playing for themselves in a lot of these junior events that it's nice that they can play for their club as well. And there's a lot of pride in the clubs going ahead and doing that. And it's important to the kids as much as it is for the adults.
Yeah, and one of the things with the junior intersections in particular is I really love is that back when we really lobbied hard and pushed hard with the OVJ and had conversations with the OVJ way back when to get the junior intersectional format changed and switched over to the same format as the rest of them, with the men, the ladies, the senior ladies and senior men's, which are both coming up later in the fall. But the juniors was all over the place. It was kind of like a group thing where these four clubs were within it. They were doing a home and home, and you thought, it'd be a lot better if it was all on the same day, like the rest of them, in that ladder format where you've got something to achieve and something to aspire to. And the format's a little bit different because there's a certain number of 15 to 18-year-olds that have to be on the team, a certain number of 14 and unders, and they all have to include at least one female golfer. And the lower ones play by handicap, and the higher ones play scratch, and just a little bit different format to balance it out a little bit, because we do have that with junior golf. But and originally that started as the Flagstick Cup when we went to the new format, and then of course we changed that and renamed the trophy and
Gordon Scott.
Rightfully so. It should have been done because that was the individual that more or less created that the junior intersectionals in the first place. So I love the fact that the junior sectionals are the way they are. So what else is going on out there? What else has happened in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, well, just in the last couple of weeks, obviously, we have a media partnership with the Play Junior Golf Tour, and they've had a few more events since I was on last. They played at Trillium down in Belleville, Prescott, Smuggler's Glen as well. Unfortunately, their event was canceled for Ottawa Hunt. Those events have all been successful. They've had, really strong fields out for all those, which is really hard this time of year because, again, a lot of the kids going away to provincial tournaments, CJGA, Maple Leaf Junior Tour. There's lots of different things that they're often going to at different levels, but we're still seeing a good depth of field there. And they've got their next events coming up here at Amherst, Carleton, and then they head down to Trenton, I guess, to go to Roundel Glen. So, they've got a full schedule that's coming up, and then they'll finish up the season. The Ottawa section will sort of finish up at Equinel, kind of August 16th, and then Cataraqui will be the last event of the year on the 23rd. So been great to see the support for the tour. Chris has been doing a great job out there, all the volunteers, and I'm hoping to get out to a couple more of them. Fun to see the parents, again, fun to see the kids, and that's good to watch. But like I said, a lot of them now are branching out. We've got provincial championships, things that are going on right now. That's a big one. We'll know later today. I mean, I hate to do that with you with a podcast and we're recording it, but hopefully by the end of this day, we might end up with young James Newton, who's from the Royal Ottawa Golf Club. He's leading at the Ontario Provincial Junior Boys Championship down at Whistlebear. And he's been representing not only the region very well, but the country very well. He's been playing some great golf down in the States as well in the wintertime. So it'd be very interesting to see if you can wrap that up. And then coming next week, starting on Sunday with practice rounds, the Brockville Country Club is going to be hosting the Ontario Junior Provincial Girls, which is the first provincial championship for that club in their history, which, you know, goes back obviously a long time on the junior side and on the women's side, I believe. So that's going to be great to see. They've got 90 players coming out for that event. And I looked through the list of entrants, and I tell you, it is the cream of the crop, not only for Ontario, but there's players coming from Nova Scotia and Quebec and whatever that are participating there. So, you know, Brockville is obviously going to be a great host for them, and going to be a good test of golf for them, having played the pro there not long ago. I can tell you that, you know, the greens are as tough as ever, and the girls are definitely going to be working hard on their practice rounds. I've already talked to a couple that went down and took a look at the course for the first time and said, wow, you know what, I'm really going to have to manage myself around there, but they're looking forward to it. They've got, I think, over 50 volunteers at the club that are there to support that, which is great to see. You know, again, it's always a pride thing when you can host a provincial championship, and it's just nice to see them come back. Spectators are allowed again, parents are allowed to follow, so that's kind of nice to see as well, and media can show up too, which is kind of nice.
Part, the media.
Yeah, so we'll get out there for a couple days to kind of see that as well.
That's awesome. Now that explains why I've had such a difficult time lately getting a hold of Jason Walmark, right?
Yes, that would. He is
the GM would be a little bit busy right now getting prepared for a provincial championship. So it's all right, Jason. I understand totally. We'll connect at some point soon.
Yeah, for sure.
So what else is going on there, Scott? As far as you know, regionally throughout the 613, anything else happening that would be of interest?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, we just alluded to it just before we came on, or when I was on last time, at the PGA of Ottawa, the Flagstick.com PGA of Ottawa tour hit the Mississippi Golf Club on the 19th there. Had their senior championship, their assistants championship, and their women's championship, which was great to see. Grace Saint-Germain, who we know, and again, we go back to intersectionals. You know, this is somebody who's been around for years and years. We've known her since she was little. Actually caddied for her at the Canadian Women's Open in 2017. So she actually returned to Mississippi. This is the course where she actually won her first tournament. And she won the assistants or the women's championship there with a beautiful round of 67. Graham Gunn picked up his 10th seniors championship. That's incredible.
Shocking.
Yeah, and then Austin James from the Loyalist Golf Club picked up the assistants championship. So that one was really good to see. And they'll be heading and getting ready for the zone championship later on in August. Pro ladies, some other events that are happening, some other different things that are happening the next little while. But the zone championship is the next big thing for them, which will come later in August as well.
Now, will the zone championship be blessed with the presence of one Scott McLeod, or will the zone championship feel the strong absence of one Scott McLeod?
Unfortunately, this fellow might be going east to our Atlantic office.
Yes.
During that time period. So
our Eastern Canadian office.
Yeah, we'll call it the Eastern Canadian office, which hopefully I'll be able to actually check out the Mackenzie Tour, which is visiting Prince Edward Island later on in August. And they just resumed. They're actually playing in Montreal this week. It's the first event of their 8 event on their schedule. And we were hoping to see maybe a few more Eastern Ontario players in that event. Brad Fritsch was looking to get back to play there, but unfortunately wasn't able to get past a few things from a border situation. But Josh Whalen from Napanee is down there playing. They've got a full field of 144 players, but nice to see the Mackenzie Tour back and playing. And like I said, I'll pop into the Prince Edward Island Open with our good friends from PEI Finest Golf, at the end of August, and I'll check that out. I'll do my duty there, but unfortunately, I will be not playing in the Zone Championship this year.
Oh, well, you'll be sorely missed, Scott, but I'm sure that the tournament will go on without you just fine, and
I think
you'll be enjoying some lobster and some steak, and say hi to your mom for me. And
would you like some coffee that actually has coffee in it this time? If you want to tell that story.
Let's not go down that road right
now.
All right. Okay, Scott. So before we move on to the other side of why we brought you on to talk about your little trip that you recently took, is there anything else 613 related that we want to get out there?
Yeah, for sure. OVGA schedule obviously is, still rolling along. The Ottawa Valley Golf Association. Unfortunately, weather has hampered some of their events. The Senior OVGA Championship, Pam Fraser and Doug McDonald from Greyhawk picked up titles there. Unfortunately, as I said, there was some weather there, so that affected play, but it was nice to see both players from Greyhawk persevere there. And then as well, the OVGA had their mixed modified alternate shot event, which was a smaller event, only 11 teams at the Perth golf course. And Bob Irvine, who we know, he picked up the win there with Stephanie Shirato, who's actually from up in the Toronto area. And so they won that title, which I can't even imagine trying to alternate shots, as we know, can be a challenge.
Yes,
that's for sure. But it was nice to see a win there. And then also relative to the 613 as well, obviously the Golf Quebec is having a strong schedule and moving along, and Christopher Van Dette, who some people will probably recognize from playing well in this area and playing well in several events. He won his second Golf Quebec men's amateur, and we've had some decent representation. We've got players like Newton, for an example, Ellis Kinnaird, a few other ones that are actually been playing well in some of those events and representing the region well at the Quebec provincial level.
Nice. See, I said to everybody, it's a lot of junior stuff going on. I know there's a lot of other stuff going on, but my gosh, the junior golf stuff right now, it seems like even when I look at flagstick.com, it always seems like we're talking about another junior golfer.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing at all. That just means that more of these younger kids are getting better at the game at an earlier age, and they're participating in events at the highest levels and doing quite well. I mean, the U19 Ontario boys is a good sign. When I look at that leaderboard up there and I see, there's 2 or 3, I think, from this region that are inside the top 10 right now. Obviously one, and the scores that these kids are shooting are just crazy. It's insane to think that a kid, a 15 or a 16-year-old kid can go out and shoot, 10 or 11 under for 3 rounds of golf. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And it's deep too. I mean, we're seeing it even in the Canadian junior girls, USGA junior girls. I mean, if you talk about Ashley LaFontaine, who's from Royal Ottawa, made her way into the US Junior Girls Championship there and qualified, which was huge for her. But players like her and Isabella Ferguson and Lauren Gervais, they've been representing not only this region, but at national championships of late as well. So my head spins most days. Usually have about 20 tabs open trying to keep track of things. We're not always writing stories immediately when certain things are happening daily and so forth, but if people look at things like our Twitter feed and Facebook feed and our social handles, we try to keep people updated and at least link them the leaderboard so that they can see what's going on, and to follow it along themselves.
Yeah, and now, Scott, one of the things that shifting gears a little bit here, one of the things that Flagstick as a brand, magazine or website related, has been very well known for over the years is equipment. Getting into the equipment talk, particularly. We could publish the whatever press release comes out and talk about equipment, but that's not what we do. When it comes to most of those press releases come out, those press releases aren't going online as verbatim the way that they're written. This is you always put your own spin on it mainly because you have a vast knowledge of what's happening a lot of times before it happens. And much to the dismay of many people, Scott knows what's coming before it comes. But you had recently had an opportunity to go up to the Toronto area and head out to test out some new equipment that's just recently been released and now available fitting. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that little journey?
Yeah, we're getting to that time of year where we're starting to see new equipment production and introductions for basically 2022 at this point. And it's things that we're keeping an eye on. And as you said, one of the biggest things for me that I personally feel responsible that I have to do is go and test these products, because we get I mean, literally hundreds of DMs and messages and things all the time where people go, what are those clubs like? What are they, what do they feel like? How do you compare them to previous ones? And, we feel like we have a responsibility to be able to answer those questions rather than just giving them a spec sheet, which is really easy to do. And I'm working through that right now. We had an introduction just today of the new T series irons from Titleist. Of course, we do have the press release and the info in hand, but I'm working on, giving my own spin to it based on testing on Tuesday. So went up to the National Fitting Center, worked through with their team and looked at the new irons, which are the T100, T100S, T200, and T300, plus their U505, which is more their utility type club. And went through and tested all those products. Thankfully, the weather held off because at first it looked like there was going to be some lightning, and it wasn't going to happen. And it's really important, obviously, to hit irons where you have turf interaction and be able to go through that process. And I really, I'll say I put myself into that a lot that day and hit a lot of golf balls and going through the process. And for people used to Titleist really refines products more than anything. They don't really do anything too crazy when they do their introductions in most cases. And this is really a refinement of the previous T line. You're going to see, for an example, the T100, which is their most popular tour iron. You're going to see kind of softer feel to it, better turf interaction. The finish is a little bit different. You're going to see a brush satin finish, and then as we progress upwards, we get into the T200, which is more of a, let's say we'll call it a mix. It's for lower handicap players, but it can be for higher players as well. It depends what the preferences are, and they have long irons in that as well that a lot of good players are integrating in the set. A little bit more forgiveness, has some hollowness to it, has a little bit more speed to it. Some great new shaft options that they've gotten those to really help out, different levels of players. And then they go to their T300, which is a larger, more forgiving iron. Not maybe suitable to, you or I taste, but a little bit more offset. Stronger lofts, but don't launch abnormally high, and just a nice design. And the big one, I think, that U505, which is their more utility type iron, for a player who maybe doesn't like a hybrid, they like the look of an iron more than a hybrid. It's really kind of clean looking, even though it's a little bit larger, has some forgiveness to it, and a lot of great options as well. But I would say for most people, those come to retail, I think August 26th is the date. They're available. They're out there for testing and fitting right now. Like anything else, just go out there and go through the process and test and try out new clubs. There are some great new products out right now, and there's a lot more coming. We'll see in the next little while, and certainly it's an exciting time as always for new golf equipment.
Well, now it should be noted too that we'll call them Joe or Jill consumer, if they want, can go to the National Fitting Center, Titleist National Fitting Center. Just since we're talking about it, and I know it's not a 613 thing, but since we're talking about it, where is the National Fitting Center, and what's the difference? Maybe the biggest difference. Not that a good fitting can't happen locally, so let's get that clear. But what's the big difference between when one would experience going to the fitting center and just having it fit locally?
Yeah, the Titleist National Fitting Center is located in Vaughan. It's up at Eagles Nest Golf Club, so just straight north of Toronto. Biggest thing there, obviously we have a regional fitter in Dan McNeely who takes care of that for that brand, for an example. There are other national fitting centers. Ping, for an example, obviously has theirs in Oakville, TaylorMade over in Woodbridge, so on and so forth as we work through the brands. But the biggest thing is just having the option to go and deal with the full array of product line as deep as you could possibly get. So, at a regional level or a club level or even a demo day, you're going to get a certain matrix of products that are available there, but you might not get the full scope of them. And the ability to go up and work with a full-time fitter, somebody who does nothing but that one particular brand. So they're going to be super, super familiar. They're going to be able to work through things a lot faster. And like I said, they're just going to have a lot more options for you to go through and try. And that's really, the magic of it. Few manufacturers now are also, because of demand, they're a little bit behind. So a lot of them are doing some virtual fittings. They're doing some setting up some appointments where you can call and go through with a fitter and sort of start to narrow down where you could go with your fitting. But again, it's kind of the most important aspect now for golf equipment, especially with the increased cost now. I mean, clubs are really an investment more than anything, and people shouldn't look at them as just a quick way to get better.
Yeah.
They are a way to get better, but look at it as an investment, something that you're going to use over time. So you're better off to take the time and make the effort to work with their team and go through and get the fitting done and nail things down to the nth degree. And it makes a difference. I mean, I know from doing that testing on Tuesday, I was just going through and trying out. I have an older hybrid that's in my bag, and was going through and testing some of their current ones and just tweaking little things, trying to get it really dialed in exactly what I wanted. And, as you said, that's not only just applicable to a low handicap player or a pro.
Yeah.
Every golfer that's out there, this is where they need that options to be able to go, okay, you know what, my swing is very, very different. Maybe it's not available in, this shaft or this shaft, but at the National Center, they have a wider array and they can really dial it in for you. And then you can be sure that your investment is a safe one and one that's you're going to gain from.
Awesome, Scott. Well, listen, we've covered a lot: Olympics, local golf, new equipment, new irons coming out. I think we'll leave it there for now. We'll save some for another episode, because as always, I love having you on. I love chatting with you. It seems very natural, and I want to make sure that we leave lots of stuff to talk about for another episode of the podcast. So thanks again for taking a little bit of time out of what is a very, very busy schedule for yourself, and talking with us and with the 613 golfers. And I'm sure we will be talking again extremely soon.
Well, thanks for having me on, and we'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Bye.
Well, there goes Scott McLeod once again. Always great to have him on the show, because Scott is just really, really intelligent and knowledgeable when it comes to all things golf, including what goes on in the 613. Not that I'm not such a smart guy myself, but ear to the ground, boots to the ground. Scott and Joe, they are everywhere, and they know what's happening. So you can anything you're looking for, flagstick.com, people, it's all there. And if you're not following us on any social media platform, particularly if you're not following Scott on any social media platform, you best be doing it, because that's where the information comes fast and furious. So you can get to all those social media channels through flagstick.com, or most of them are at Flagstick or at Flagstick Golf. Now, it is that time during the show when we kind of shift gears a little bit and help you out with your golf swing. But first, we must take a quick break, because we do have to pay some bills, and then we'll head out to the lesson tee with Kevin Haime. But first, we take a quick break. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
At Ping, our culture of curiosity has been driving innovations for over 60 years. Innovations like the new G425 iron, which brings you greater distance without sacrificing the forgiveness and control you need to play with precision. And with free access to the Arcos Caddy system, you'll play smarter and shoot lower scores. The new Ping G425 iron, better by every measure. Get fit today.
Visit ca.ping.com to learn more about G425.
Okay, and we are back, and let's not waste any time. Let's head out to the lesson tee with our good friend Kevin Haime at the Kevin Haime Golf Center, and see what Kevin's got in store for us on the lesson tee this week. Take it away, Kevin.
Time for a quick tip, golfers. This week we're talking about foot placement. I don't even need a club. What do we do with our feet? Well, your back foot should be perpendicular to your target line, or square we call it. And that's because as we rotate into it, there's some pressure as I coil. If I open that foot up, I find far too many golfers sway or float to the outside of their leg, and they can't get back into the golf ball. So let's keep that back foot square. Your front foot, though, shouldn't be square unless you're really flexible. If you watch me try to release here, I can't get my right hip up to my left hip. I may hit the ball to the right. As I open the foot a little bit, it allows me to release and finish perpendicular to where I started. That's great balance and a great finish. If I over-rotate the foot, I may spin and pull the ball. Back foot always square in golf. Front foot set at an angle that your flexibility finishes you in balance. That's your quick tip for today.
And not to disappoint, as always, another awesome golf tip from Kevin. I hope everybody's been enjoying those tips again. By the way, they're so they're quick, they're simple. A lot of them are easy to work with just at your own house with your golf club out in the backyard. If some of you have a hitting net or something, a portable hitting net, and you can work on it, it's a great opportunity. If you can't, you got to go to the range, and obviously go to the range and work on it. Don't work on your swing on the golf course, people. Do not work on your swing on the golf course. Work on your swing on the range, go to the golf course and golf. If you start worrying about your golf swing and what it's doing on the golf course, I guarantee you're going to watch your scores go up, because frustration is always going to get the best of us on the golf course. I tell that to my young son all the time. Don't worry about what's going on the golf course, just play and grind it out, figure it out, and then hit the net when you get home, or hit the net before, get to the range and work on your golf swing and groove those things, because trying to do it on the golf course, not a good place to do it. So thanks again, Kevin, for an awesome tip. Now, people, tune in, watch the Olympics. It's Olympic time. I know it's not a 613 golfer thing, but it's the Olympics, and Olympic golf, as much as maybe I don't particularly like the format of it, I'm a golf guy. I love golf. I love watching golf. I don't care whether it's the Olympics or it's a local junior event or mixed event or whatever. I love watching people play golf and seeing them, work their best to try to get the best out of themselves. And it's the Olympics, and there's a gold medal, a silver medal, and a bronze medal. At the end of the day, somebody's going to win those, and it doesn't matter what nation, what country they're from. But we certainly hope that they are Canadian. So good luck to Corey Connors and Mackenzie Hughes, Brooke Henderson, and Elena Sharp. Let's see if we can't bring home a medal. But if we can't bring home a medal, then at least we're gonna give it everything we have trying. So tune into the Olympics this week and next week for the golf competitions. Tune in the Olympics for all the competitions. And I hope that you've been enjoying. And if you have been enjoying the show, make sure that you download the podcast. You can check it out at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can also get every episode through flagstick.com. If you're one that likes watching the show, particularly on YouTube, check it out on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to it. Make sure that you like the podcast episode if you did like it. If you didn't like it, click like anyway. I don't care. It's all good to me. Click the little bell, notification bell. Make sure that you get every episode of 613 Golfer podcast when we drop it. Thanks to Scott McLeod for coming on and being part of the show again this week. Thanks again always to our sponsor, Ping. Make sure you check out the new Ping G425 lineup of clubs, irons, woods, hybrids, and fairways. And check it all out at ca.ping.com. I am Jeff Botter. Thank you so much for listening. This has been the 613 Golfer podcast. And always remember, go for the stick.